The Mission Impossible franchise has been a cinematic powerhouse for nearly 3 decades, and just when audiences thought they had reached the end of the road with Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, a seismic shift in speculation has emerged. Angela Bassett, known not only for her iconic acting talent but also for her authoritative presence in Hollywood, has dropped a comment that sent waves through the fanbase and entertainment industry alike. You can't count Tom Cruise out. With those few words, the idea that The Final Reckoning might not be the final installment has become a thrilling new mystery in itself, echoing the franchise's own ethos of never saying never and never assuming the mission is truly over. From the beginning, Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt has been the face of a franchise defined by gravity, defying stunts, glow, trotting espionage, and ever-escalating stakes. The Mission Impossible series has never played by the rules of standard Hollywood storytelling. Each sequel has raised the bar, not only in terms of physical spectacle, but also in the depth of character exploration. The narrative has evolved with Hunt. He's not just a spy or an action hero, but a man constantly grappling with loyalty, sacrifice, and personal loss. It's these layers that have transformed what could have been a simple action series into something far more nuanced. So when someone like Angela Bassett suggests that Tom Cruise might not be finished, it's not just idle gossip. It's a signal that this world might still have stories left to tell. The entertainment world is full of declarations about finality that are later walked back. How many franchises have announced their swan song only to return with more firepower than ever before? But Mission Impossible is unique in how it manages to continuously innovate without losing its essence. It's not just about the action sequences, although Cruise dangling from cliffs, helicopters, and planes never gets old. It's about the evolving dynamics of its characters, the philosophical undertones of loyalty and betrayal, and the moral gray zones of intelligence work. If The Final Reckoning truly was the end, then it would already be enough. But if there's more, then it becomes a potential rebirth of something even bigger than what came before. Angela Bassett's comment feels less like a tease and more like a nudge. A suggestion that perhaps the studio, the producers, or even Tom Cruise himself is reconsidering the finality of this so-called final chapter. And when Bassett speaks, people listen. She's not one to make flippant remarks. She played CA director Erica Sloan in Mission Impossible Fallout, so her words carry the weight of someone who's been inside the IMF universe. Her relationship with the franchise is more than just casual, it's strategic and informed. Her insight points to a broader understanding of how Mission Impossible operates behind the scenes, especially when it comes to the meticulous planning of story arcs and character resolutions. Cruise himself is known for pushing boundaries and defying expectations. He's 62 years old and still performing his own stunts, not out of vanity but out of commitment to authenticity. It's become his signature, his brand, and the soul of the franchise. So if The Final Reckoning was being sold as the last chapter, it would be entirely in character for Cruise to pull a cinematic sleight of hand and extend the story even further. The title may be suggesting a conclusion, but as audiences have learned from years of intricate mission, impossible plotting, nothing is ever as it seems, the very nature of espionage is deception, and what better way to honor that than by misleading everyone about the finality of the story? There's also the commercial reality to consider. The Mission Impossible films have been consistent box office juggernauts. The success of the franchise, both critically and financially, makes it hard to justify stopping entirely. Studios are in the business of sustaining profitable IP, and few are as reliable as Mission Impossible. But beyond the money, there's the fact that audiences genuinely care. Fans are invested in these characters. They want to know what happens to Ilsa Faust, Benji Dunn, Luther Stickle, and of course, Ethan Hunt. They want resolution, yes, but they also want the journey to continue if it feels organic and earned. The narrative doesn't feel exhausted. It feels alive with unexplored possibilities still shimmering on the horizon. Imagine a post-final reckoning future where the franchise pivots slightly. Maybe Ethan becomes more of a mentor, grooming a successor, not to replace him, but to carry the ethos forward. Or maybe the next installment challenges the very foundation of the IMF, taking the story to darker, more introspective places. This is a world that can sustain such explorations. With global stakes, interwoven backstories, and ever-present moral dilemmas, the mission, Impossible Universe, can expand without diluting. It's not just another action franchise, it's a mythos in the making. Bassett's comment could also indicate unfinished business in the overarching narrative. What if there are threads left intentionally open, the mysterious syndicate, the shifting loyalties within intelligence communities? The philosophical clash between chaos and control, the tension between personal freedom and institutional responsibility. These aren't just action, movie plot devices, they are existential themes that continue to evolve with each new installment. It's entirely possible that the final reckoning is merely the beginning of a transformation, a transition from one phase of storytelling to another, a narrative resurrection, and then there's the Cruz factor. His commitment to this role has been nothing short of legendary. Over 7 films, he's not only maintained but elevated the physical and emotional intensity. He's redefined what it means to age as an action star, creating a blueprint that blends risk-taking with character depth. If Cruz isn't ready to walk away, then neither is the audience. There's something magnetic about watching him defy limitations, both cinematic and personal. The idea of him suiting up for yet another impossible mission isn't just appealing, it feels necessary. Like the story isn't done until he says it is. Hollywood has a long history of reboots, remakes, and sequels that feel more like cash grabs than creative endeavors, but Mission Impossible has always stood apart. Its evolution has felt natural, its stakes earned. If a continuation follows the final reckoning, it won't be because the studio wants to milk it dry, it'll be because there's still a story that demands to be told. Angela Bassett, with her deep understanding of storytelling and her proximity to the franchise, likely senses this. Her comment isn't just about Cruz's physical stamina, it's about the unfinished emotional arc, the potential for a reimagined future, and the need to keep the IMF spirit alive. There's also an emotional element. Longtime fans of the franchise have grown with Ethan Hunt. They've seen him love, lose, sacrifice, and endure. This isn't just about car chases and ticking bombs. It's about a man trying to stay moral in an immoral world. A man who believes in doing the right thing, even when it means going rogue, even when it means standing alone. That's not a story you simply put a period on. That's a legacy. And legacy, as we've seen in other cinematic universes, doesn't end, it evolves. The fan community is already buzzing with theories. Could we see spin-offs focused on other IMF agents? Could there be a deeper dive into Hunt's past? Are there global threats beyond what the current IMF structure can handle, prompting a new kind of mission? These questions aren't just hypothetical, they're pathways. They represent a universe rich with possibility, and fans are eager to explore every corner of it. Bassett's statement may be the spark that ignites a renewed wave of creativity within the Mission Impossible realm. It's also important to recognize the cultural significance of this franchise. It has inspired real-world admiration for the limits of human potential. Cruz's insistence on practical effects and real stunts has influenced a generation of filmmakers and actors. The emotional gravity, the ethical quandaries, and the sheer cinematic craftsmanship have made Mission Impossible more than just a movie series. It's a benchmark for excellence in the action genre. To end it now, just when it's reaching the height of its creative maturity, would feel premature. The character of Ethan Hunt is iconic not because he's invincible, but because he's vulnerable, because he cares, because he's willing to risk everything, not for glory, but for people. That kind of character doesn't come around often, and it's hard to say goodbye. Bassett knows this. Her words reflect an awareness of what the character means, not just to the audience, but to the genre itself. Her statement invites us to imagine a future where Hunt's story doesn't end, it shifts, grows, maybe even reinvents itself. In the end, the question isn't whether the final reckoning is the end. The real question is whether we're ready to let go, and based on the reaction to Bassett's comment, it seems we're not, because we believe in Ethan Hunt. We believe in the power of story, and we believe that sometimes the final mission is just the beginning of something even more extraordinary, because even as mission, impossible the final reckoning positions itself as the last act in a decades-spanning saga, the deeper truth is far more complex. This isn't just about whether another sequel gets greenlit or whether Tom Cruise signs on for one more stunt-laden epic. This is about the power of a story to evolve, to outlive even its most iconic characters, and to challenge audiences in new, unexpected ways. Angela Bassett's comment didn't just open the door to speculation. It reignited the core belief that good stories are never truly finished. They are paused, reshaped, reframed. They shift with the times, just as Ethan Hunt has shifted through global threats, political betrayals, and personal loss. That lingering question, is this really the end, might be the smartest thing the franchise has ever planted in the minds of fans. Because finality creates reflection, it forces audiences to reevaluate every decision, every moment, every glance exchanged between characters who have walked the line between survival and sacrifice. We start asking what it all meant. Did Hunt find peace? Did he earn redemption? Was the world ever truly safer because of what he gave up? But more importantly, what if those questions don't have to be answered just yet? Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt has been more than a character. He's become a symbol of persistence. In a world that thrives on shortcuts and CGI illusions, Cruise's relentless commitment to authenticity has been a breath of fresh air. He has thrown himself from buildings, clung to airplanes, and raced against time not for the spectacle alone, but because it mattered that audiences believed, not in the stunt, but in the man, in the sacrifice behind the spectacle. That's what makes him irreplaceable, and that's why the door can't close just yet, because we haven't seen a true passing of the torch. We haven't seen the next chapter rise from the embers of the last. There's a deeper reason why Angela Bassett's words struck such a chord. She knows this industry. She knows how powerfully audiences attach to a character like Ethan Hunt. She's seen what happens when franchises evolve too quickly or are handed off without purpose. And her insight, subtle as it was, suggests that if there is more to come, it will be done with care, with purpose, and with reverence for what came before, because to do anything less would be to betray the legacy. Audiences today are smarter, more emotionally connected, and more demanding than ever before. They don't just want explosions and shootouts, they want character, they want arcs, they want to feel something. And Mission Impossible has delivered that over and over again, from the pain in Hunt's eyes when he loses someone he cares about, to the moral complexity of choosing the mission over his personal happiness. These films have never settled for being one-dimensional. They've always carried emotional weight beneath the action. That's what keeps people coming back, and so the idea that this is the end simply doesn't sit right. Not because we're ungrateful for the ride so far, but because we know the story still has legs. Perhaps not in the same form, maybe not even with Hunt front and center, but the world the franchise has built, the tone, the pace, the philosophy, deserves continuation. Whether through a spiritual successor, a parallel narrative, or a reinvention that builds upon the foundation laid by Cruise and McQuarrie, the soul of Mission Impossible can live on. What comes next doesn't need to be a mirror of what came before. It doesn't need to outdo the helicopter chases or the skydives from the stratosphere. It needs to tell a story worth telling, one that honors the legacy while pushing forward into new territory, new faces, new dilemmas, new impossibilities to conquer. Perhaps the IMF evolves into something different. Perhaps the enemies aren't just terrorists and rogue states, but the creeping sense of apathy and disinformation that threatens truth itself. Maybe the next mission isn't about stopping a nuke, it's about saving hope. Bassett's words echo with truth because they remind us of what Cruz himself has often embodied, that the mission is never really over. Not when there's more to fight for, not when the world still needs heroes, and not when audiences still sit in theaters, hearts pounding, breath held, waiting to see what impossible feat will be attempted next. The myth of Ethan Hunt is built on that principle, that some things are worth risking everything for. That principle is timeless. Hollywood rarely allows a clean ending anymore, but perhaps in this case, it's not about marketing strategy or sequel bait. Maybe, just maybe, the hesitation to say goodbye stems from something purer, a recognition that Ethan Hunt's journey mirrors our own in ways we don't always admit. The need to believe in something bigger. The choice to do the right thing even when no one is watching. The courage to face odds that seem unwinnable. That's not just entertainment, that's inspiration. So if this truly is the final chapter, then let it be one of reflection and gratitude. But if there's even the faintest heartbeat left in the mission, impossible legacy, let it be nurtured, let it rise again, not as a repeat, but as a revolution. Let it challenge us, let it move us, let it remind us that the most powerful stories are the ones that don't tell you when they're ending. They leave a window cracked open, just enough to let in the idea that the mission might continue, because legends don't end with silence. They echo, they linger, they wait for the right moment to return. And when that moment comes, when the world least expects it, the mission will call once more, and somewhere, somehow, Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt will answer, not because he has to, but because he was born for it. And we'll be there, ready to believe in the impossible all over again.